in a moment.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to recommence the plenary session of Congress. Welcome back. I trust you're rested and after the wonderful hospitality of the Swiss delegate yesterday evening. I'm going to hand over to Stefano to explain the program for the rest of the day. Over to you, Stefano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. So we have at the moment 3 documents that are available on the mini site in draft 3. That is the latest stage agreed through various consultations. These are 2.1 early warning services. Then we have 2.2, the Global Greenhouse Watch. And then we have 3.2, the Youth Action Plan. So they will be taken in this order by the chair. After that, we will perhaps take a short break or a little pause and then proceed with the remaining items. There is probably a need for the chair of the informal group that consulted on document 4 to inform the plenary about the discussion that took place yesterday in the evening. And then there are 2 pending documents, documents 3.1 on elections and appointments and document 4 itself on the financial situations. I also want to inform that we have made available again 2 rooms for possible refinement through drafting groups on these 2 items that are still pending. So from noon to 1. This is the information we have at this moment. So we can then update on any changes through the morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellent, Stefano. Thank you very much. So we have a busy morning, so we will try to move through these items as quickly as we possibly can. So if we return to agenda item 2.1, this relates to the amendments to the technical regulations concerning early warning systems, and I believe we're on draft 3 of document document 2.1. So I'm going to give the floor to the chair of the drafting committee, Jan Danielka of Czechia, the permanent representative of Czechia. Thank you very much, Jan, for your excellent chairmanship. So I'm going to hand over to you to report on your work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. As mentioned, the drafting committee met on Tuesday during the lunchtime with the participation of 21 members, of course, with the secretariat support and the huge support from the president of CERCOM, who prepared a lot of proposals for the solution. And I would really like to express my sincerest thanks to all who participated to the drafting team for the incredibly cooperative and consensus-seeking contribution and involvement. So thank you very much for that. And I'm happy to say that we have been able to develop a proposal that will be just put for your consideration. And I think the president of the CERCOM, Ian Lisk, will be the right person to guide you through the details of that proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan, and we can revert to you as necessary. So next we're going to walk through the document 1 section at a time. And as Jan has indicated, we're in the capable hands of the president of CERCOM, Ian Lisk, and we also have Cyril here on the podium from the Secretariat, so we've plenty of support. So I'm going to ask Ian to talk us through each section so everybody is clear on what we're agreeing. So over to you, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much to Jan Danielka for chairing the drafting committee a couple of days ago. So just before I start, a bit of context. Early warnings for all, number one priority for the WMO. As we sit here right now, it's the agreed number one priority within the strategic plan. These early warning service technical regulations, which I'm going to take you through, hopefully over the next half hour or so, are a fundamental element of the WMO's contribution to Pillar 2 of the Early Warnings for All initiative. They absolutely reinforce, in international terms, the authoritative voice of a service provider for early warning services. So just we want absolutely clear how important these technical regulations are that we'll be seeking to approve today, and are entirely consistent with the WMO's role as an international standards setting body. If we approve these tech regs today, it will be the culmination of about 18 months of work, numerous consultations with our regions. We've gone through the technical commission process intergovernmentally in March, so lots of expert inputs into that process as well, and of course culminating in the drafting committee, for which I'll say a few more words in a minute. The way I'm going to go through the document, and let's make absolutely sure we're all in the same version, it is draft 3. It is available in all 6 languages, so that makes my job a lot easier, so I don't have to read everything out line by line. I will start by going through the annex first off, and then once we've done that, I will go back up to the resolution and go through that as well. So without further ado, if we can start on page number 6, please. So the annex is the actual technical regulations themselves. If we can just scroll down, please, to the definitions first. So if we can just pop it up a second, just one line to definitions, just above that. So first things first, definitions. Obviously very important that we actually include within the provisions a definition of what early warning services are. This was agreed by the CERCOM extraordinary session in March. We've had no further comments over the last couple of months with this being posted. So there's the early warning services definition. We've had no comments on that. And if there are no calls for the floor, I'm going to move us along. No hands. Let's scroll down and just look at the note. We have a supporting note there as well for that definition, ensuring consistency. And then we also have a definition of derived products. And once again, we've had no further comments on either of those definitions at all. So far, so good. Right, so let's move down, therefore, to public weather services. The only changes to the provisions, so these are existing provisions for public weather services, which were in the tech regs, but to be consistent with the new early warning services technical regulations, we've had to make some amendments to the public weather service provisions as well. And you can see the amendments in, I think it's green. We've got 2 presidents of technical commissions who are both colourblind, by the way, so this always gets quite interesting. We've got 2 notes there. Once again, those notes have not been commented on by anybody over the last 6 weeks. No comments on those notes. I see none. So let's go down now to PWS 5.2.3. And once again, the only change that was necessary is a change, an additional note. And then you will also see scoring out of 5.2.3.2 and the supporting note, because that text you will find later has been moved into the early warning services technical regulations. So to avoid duplication, we've taken it out of PWS and we've put it in new provisions later on. Any comments? I see none. So 5.2.4, preparation of warnings. All of these sections have been scored out because once again, they are superseded by the new provisions under early warning services. So once again, to avoid duplication, these 3 paragraphs have all been removed and will reappear later. I see no comments. Let's go to 5.3, organisation. Once again, these have been scored out because, again, superseded by the new provisions, which we'll be going through in a few moments' time. Again, no comments. And then competency, if we just go down to that, no changes there at all. We've retained the original text. Only changes is to get the numbers updated because of all the scoring out. So that's public weather services, the necessary changes for consistency's sake to those sections. And I see no comments. Okay. Right. So now we're on to the main event, the new section 6 on early warning services. Again, I'm going to take you all through line by line through this bit. And if I could just please respectfully ask that I'll give you all, each time we do it, a few moments to digest and think. You've all read the provisions over the last few days. I beg you, please, what I don't want to do is to have to keep jumping backwards. You know, once we've done something, I would like to move down and not jump through the document. It makes it really difficult for everyone to follow, okay? So, the first section is just general kind of preamble about how we set up early warning services. So 6.1 general, and we've got first paragraph is 6.1.1. And we've just had a couple of minor changes through the course of this week. We've had the drafting committee agreed that the reference to marine, which was originally put forward by British Caribbean Territories, was redundant as it's already covered under the phrase meteorological in terms of warnings. And to our friends from New Zealand, there is the addition of affecting their respective territories. So environmental hazards affecting their respective territories. So that was the only change over this week to that section. Any comments on 6.1.1? Okay. 6.1.2 has been scored out. Once again, our friends from New Zealand, with the changes they made to 6.1, they contended that 6.1.2 was very closely related. It was almost duplicating what was already in 6.1.1. So that one has been scored out. We did discuss that also when we went through the paper first thing on Monday. So 6.1.2 scored out. Any issues from anyone? I see none. So we now go on to what is the new 6.1.2. And again, drafting committee and United Republic of Tanzania and the New Zealand have all had minor changes editorially just to improve the clarity of the text under 6.1.2. And the main change, just to highlight once again, you'll notice at the end of that section, there is now a reference to enable timely and effective planning, anticipatory action and response. And that was in direct response to the Indonesian intervention of earlier on this week as well. So the anticipatory action being included in that section as requested by Indonesia and approved by the drafting committee. Any comments on 6.1.2? I see none. So let's go to 6.1.3. Again, minor changes to this within the drafting committee. Just bear with me one moment while I just highlight on another document here what those changes were. Just bear with me. On come the glasses. Apologies. Okay, and once again, the changes were of a very purely editorial nature. So it didn't change the actual content, as it were, the meaning of the provision. Any comments on 6.1.3? I see none. And then you will notice underneath, we go into the notes section, please. There are, as you can see, 3 notes. And from the drafting committee, there were no further comments. And I see Tanzania, I think, Tanzania, over there. Yeah. So, yeah.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just to, once again, the last one, I would like to provide some comments. Can you go back to the last, please? Yeah, so this is a very important paragraph. It's talking about the gaps, of which we are very aware that the gaps are very much big, especially for developing countries. And now my question here is the second sentence, which is talking about impending the provision of all or part of the required early warning services. To me, this is not clear what exactly we mean here, because any aspect, any part of the or component of the early warning services, if there are gaps, then it is going to impact the entire cycle of the early warning services. And if, for example, in most developing countries, we have a very big challenges, of course, starting with the observation and monitoring capacities, and also dissemination to the last milestone, etc. So what do we mean by all or party of the required early warning services? And why is it necessary to put that here?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tanzania. Well, I think you kind of answered the question yourself in that we're talking about the whole value cycle. So we're just saying all of the value cycle or an element of it. But if the sentence is causing you a problem, we could quite simply, I think, just shorten it to impeding the provision of the required early warning services and just take all or part of out. Tanzania, how would that suit?
Yeah, thank you very much. To me, that would be precise, because if we to identify parts, we have many parts, and it's just to say the institutional capacity gaps. I would have liked, but anyway, just that one, and then yeah, so that would be fine with me.
Thank you very much, Tanzania, and it's really a great opportunity to have to refine the language. But if I could ask Congress to ensure that we move ahead and try to progress the draft as has been laid out by the drafting committee as much as possible. But that's an excellent refinement from Tanzania. Thanks very much. Back to Ian.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, please delete what you have highlighted there, please. And what I will do, I'll just read out the sentence for the purposes of interpretation. So in cases of identified technical and institutional capacity gaps impeding the provision of the required early warning services, and then the rest of the sentence is the same. So we're changing that live. Any objections? Okay. We're just looking at the 3 notes now. Thank you, Tanzania. Let's look at the 3 notes, please. Can we scroll down, please, Cops? There you go. So actually there's 4 notes. And again, the drafting committee, who all left with big smiles on their faces after we went through the document on Monday, or was it Tuesday? There were no further comments on the notes here. And right on cue, it starts raining. Okay, let's move on to 6.2.3. Thank you. So in the drafting committee, there were no comments on 6.2.3. So everybody was happy and smiley about this section. Any comments? I see none. What would be great is when we approve this document, if we get a big clap of thunder at that time, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's move on to 6.2.4. We've just jumped a little bit too far, please, Cops. You can just go up again. Okay. Let me just check what you changed. Yeah, and again, drafting committee and BCT, very minor change, the removal of the reference to marine once again. We had a long conversation about this, all very happy. Any comments on 6.2.4? I see none.
Albert, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vice President. Only the word that I have some ideas how to think about that word is the applicable national and international requirements. Is that a normal case that we are using applicable national or just national and international requirement? So that is actually what stands out for me now. I don't have any suggestion for it or any problem that it stay there, but just for curiosity, I would like to know if we need to have that word there.
Yeah, what I will do, Albert, I'll go to the chair of the drafting committee who's sat in the corner there, just to explain why we've used the applicable word. Again, just a plea from me. You're in the drafting committee, and we agreed that that was the place where these words, the difficulties would be discussed. So I'm just slightly concerned if we start getting into stuff that we've already agreed we were happy with, we could get wound up around the axle. But Will, applicable, please, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to suggest the fix to that. Probably we can just say with relevant national and or international, if applicable is a problem.
UK, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The drafting team wanted this provision to be as broad as possible in dealing with any applicable and or relevant national and or international requirements. So it gives leeway for things that already exist at national level in terms of those requirements, but also things that may have existed at WMO level already agreed as well. So that's the intention of the word applicable. I don't think the drafting team would object to use of the word relevant, but I think that's equivalent anyway. So
Right. You would leave the microphone open, Will, please. So has anybody any objection to the word relevant as has been proposed by Tanzania instead of applicable? Nope, that's great. Can we change applicable to relevant, please? Okay, thank you very much. And as the president of CERCOM have said, this is not the drafting team. That's not the purpose of this particular discussion. We're confirming that we're happy. And if there's any very small refinements that will add value to the document, then we will permit a discussion. Back to you, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Tanzania. Thank you, Curacao, for that change. The note that follows, there were no further comments in the drafting team. Any questions? Okay, I see none.
Yes.
Oh,
Egypt is seeking the floor.
cool.
Keep your microphone on.
Yeah.
Egypt. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, dear colleagues. If you just may, I'd like just to return back to the reference in the document to low and middle income countries. If there was a proposal to change, I think, from developing to low and middle income country in that document.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that intervention. Egypt, that's later in the document, so we'll be coming to that shortly.
Yeah. So, yes, Mr. Chair. Later on, after just to be displayed on the screen, we will have an intervention after we see the language. I thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So could you remind us that you need to make that intervention when we get to that point in the document, please? Thank you very much. We will come to you, but you could also remind us just in case we don't come to you. But there'll be time to address that particular item once we get to that part of the document, I reassure you. Thank you very much. Moving ahead.
So just to be clear for my friends from Egypt, we're going through the annex first. We will be going back to the resolution where the provision you're concerned about sits. Okay, so it will absolutely come to you at that point. Thank you very much. No, thank you. Let's go down to 6.2.5, please. And again, drafting committee, and during the review of this document over the last month, no further comments. Except for, oh no, no comments at all. Any problems? All good. Let's go to 6.2.6. And once again, a relatively simple addition from New Zealand, introducing the word quality. Any comments? I see none. Let's now go to the note. And once again, no further edits to this over the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. Any comments? I see none. Let's go to 6.2.7. Again, an editorial here, replacing undertaking with practicing British Caribbean territories. Any comments? I see none. So we go on to section 6.3. There is a comment.
I think Tanzania is seeking the floor again. Over to you, Tanzania.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry. We are moving expeditiously, which is good. But I had a intervention in the note, especially the wording quality management system of this technical regulation. It is not clear to me what we mean here. I think we are just providing to be implemented, provided in chapter 7, quality management system of this technical regulation. Is not clear what we mean here. Is quality management system for technical regulation?
Thank you. Ian?
Okay, what it's referring to is the technical regulations themselves. There is a chapter 7 on quality management systems, Tanzania, and that's what it's referring to. So it's simply a reference to chapter 7 of WMO number 49. Hopefully that clears that up.
Thank you very much, Ian. Moving ahead.
Okay. So we're on to 6.3 now. 6.3.1, once again, there were no, 6.3.1, there was, again, some improvement to the text. You can see it there highlighted from New Zealand. Important improvement, these, to ensure that straightforward, unambiguous, interoperable, and fit for purpose. Any comments, please? I see none. And in a similar fashion to earlier, we have struck out 6.3.2 because it effectively duplicated what was in 6.3.1. So many thanks again, New Zealand, for identifying that. And again, the drafting committee was comfortable with that deletion too. I see no comments. So we now have a new 6.3.2. Again, there were some very minor edits inserted here by the drafting committee. There was no change in the meaning of this provision. Any comments? I see none. And then 6.3.3, again, just very, very minor edits, no change to the meaning by the drafting committee. Any comments? One moment. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then we've got the qualifying notes. There were no comments on this. Let's go to 6.3.4. And again, as highlighted by Cyril, the drafting committee there is just the fact that we've changed the numbers. And we have, once again, the deletion of marine. Other than that, the drafting committee, we're all smiles. Any comments? I see none. Notes 1 and 2, once again, no comments have been received. Everybody happy? Okay. So let's go down to 6.3.5. And once again, only change here is the numbering. The text remain unaltered. Drafting committee was happy. I see no comments. 6.3.6, just a numbering change. Drafting committee was happy. And once again, the note, no changes. I see no comments. So let's go on to 6.4 now, please. Dissemination and communication. And once again, the only change to 6.4.1 was the deletion of the word accurate. Only reason for that basically is that effective and reliable, we've already mentioned quality of the warnings themselves. Any comments from anybody on 6.4.1, please? Tanzania.
Yeah, just a small one, I think, to enhance clarity and quality. I would like to suggest that we replace supply with provision, and that will be consistent with 6.1.3, where we say unreliable supply of early warning. I think it should be reliable provision of early warning, and it should be consistent with 6.1.3. And also in the previous formulation, we used individuals. And I have some problem with individuals. Probably we meant public. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to change supply to provision, please. And if you could just bear with me one moment, because we're slightly confused about your last comment. So just please hold fire one moment.
Could you just seek clarification?
Okay. So Tanzania, you've mentioned the word individuals. We can't see that in this text here. So could you just clarify, please, exactly what text you are talking to? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, it was 6.3.4 where we said related environmental hazard on individuals. And I don't know if that is a common formulation. If it is, then fine. But I think normally we say public, communities, etc. But it's not a big issue, but I think to be consistent.
Yeah. Once again, what I will do, I'll ask the chair of the drafting team from the UK to comment on that word. But again, just a humble plea once again. We did this paragraph about 2 minutes ago, and I really plead that we don't jump back 2 paragraphs once we've moved through the document. But if you can give the floor to the UK.
Yeah, the floor open to the UK there. Will Lang, please.
Thank you, Chair. Stakeholders was used in the other section as a catch-all term to refer to all end users, including individuals, including communities, including disaster risk management, etc. I don't think there's any inconsistency in having that broken down into those individual groups in 6.3.
Czechia, Jan.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I would just plead for keeping the sentence as it is without further editing of minor things that really doesn't make a change, an impact of what we are saying. But in this particular one, I think individual should remain because impacts on individuals are completely different of those impacts on communities, and just remain saying public might lose some information for consideration of the members. So please stick to the original wording. Thank you.
Thank you. I see General nodding on that. I mean, it's a fair query from Tanzania for a clarification, but we've had the explanation from Jan and the president of CERCOM and Will Lang here. So, and the language is the universal set of all those impacted. So I think with Tanzania's forbearance, we might progress and keep this language for the sake of consistency as well throughout the document. Thank you very much.
So just to confirm, with all the nodding in the room and the fact that the drafting committee was also happy, we are going to retain that language. So individuals remains. Let's go back now, therefore, to 6.4.1. We have changed the word supply to provision. Everybody happy? All good. The note there were no suggested changes anywhere through this process. Everybody happy? Excellent. Let's move to 6.4.2. Again, through this process, there have been no further comments or edits. Everybody happy? All good. 6.4.3, once again, no suggested changes. Everybody happy? All good. Let's go to 6.4.4. And again, we had quite a long conversation in the drafting committee about this sentence. Basically, the stuff that has been struck out was deemed to be redundant. We're going to do that anyway, redistribution. So it was agreed to strike out that text there. And also, I'm going to cover the note as well. We agreed to remove the notes with all those examples for the basic reason that as soon as you start listing lots of lovely examples, you always miss something out. And therefore, everybody always puts their hand up to say, where's my special thing? So to avoid that, we've removed all of them, okay? So I'm taking everybody happy with 6.44 and the note that has been now deleted, please. So great work by the drafting committee there.
Tanzania.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So early warning information and derived product shall be to support. I think there is something missing there. If you read the sentence as it is on the screen, or shall be used to support. I don't know.
Okay, I'll read it out then. If I'm correct, 6.4.1. Early warning information and derived products shall be exchanged in accordance with the WMO Unified Data Policy, Resolution 1, Congress Extraordinary 2021, to support redistribution, promote public awareness, and manage hazards affecting cross-border areas. That seems clear to me, so I think we'll just move ahead. Yeah, thank you.
So just to confirm, it is grammatically correct. So I see no further comments. Let's move on to 6.4.5. And again, just the removal of marine here. Drafting committee was happy. There were no further changes to the note. Everybody happy? And in 6.4.6, the only change there, thank you to New Zealand once again, was the inclusion of the word that documentation is, I beg your pardon. So that was the only change to improve that provision. Any comments? I see none. So we can move on to the final provision now, which is recording and cataloguing. 6.5.1, again, the removal of marine. Drafting committee was happy. The note that refers to the catalogue of hazardous events, there were no comments. And so we can go to 6.5.2. And again, the only change here was from the Dominican Republic to emphasize the importance of being validated and verified. Any comments? I see none. And the final notes, we've had no further comments on. We've got Tanzania again.
Thank you very much. Oh, Tanzania. Floor is yours again, Tanzania.
Yeah, just a word of clarification. Supplementary supplementary hazard. Which are those supplementary hazards? Are they quantified somewhere?
Yeah, you have to read it, the whole sentence. It's not supplementary hazards, it's supplementary hazard and impact data. Okay, so you have to read, it's not just hazard, it's about the data, Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Okay, the floor is open for one last time, Tanzania. We've had a drafting team. We've discussed.
Sorry,
this at
I
length
think we need to be
Monday.
very clear because I don't understand what is supplementary hazard. Which are those? Can you list maybe?
Just to reaffirm, Tanzania, we're not referring to supplementary hazards. We're referring to supplementary hazards data. It's not just hazards. I don't think I can be clearer than that. Thank you.
Okay, I suggest I read the sentence 6.5.2. Members should facilitate the systematic collection and sharing of supplementary hazard and impact data among stakeholders, including from non-official reliable sources after being validated and verified. Okay, so take into account the entirety of the sentence. I think that's quite clear what the meaning is. And I don't see anybody objecting. So we might proceed with that section. Thanks very much. Back to you, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. We had no comments on the notes. So actually that does conclude the review of the annex and the content of the technical regulations. So Chair, I hand the floor back to you to perhaps take us through the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thanks to the drafting committee and to Congress and of course to CERCOM for the extensive briefing and feedback sessions that we've had to date. So the next step is to move to propose to adopt the annex in its current form, and then we move to the regulation. So has anybody any objection to Congress adopting the annex as has been outlined and presented? Right then, this is the primary item, by the way, for which this extraordinary Congress was organized, just to remind you, so, and convened. So I don't see anybody objecting. So the annex has been approved. Thank you very much. Well done, everybody. Next, we move to the resolution. I hand.
I'll let you do them. Yeah, do you want to do it?
Right then, so we're going to return to the capable hands of Ian Lisk, President of CERCOM, to present the resolution, please. Over to you, Ian. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And thank you very much, everybody, personally from me. That has been, like I say, 18 months of very, very intensive work generating those excellent technical regulations. I hope you enjoy using them. Okay, so we're on to the resolution now. General considerations. I'm sure you've all read this. We'll get into the meat now of the resolution itself. And again, as I've just done, I will take you nice and slowly through each section. And again, my heartfelt plea that we don't jump around. Okay, we'll go through the section and discuss it. And if we can avoid going up and down, that would be hugely appreciated, not just by me, but I'm sure by everybody in the session. So let's start with the first recalling. Again, this was all discussed by the drafting committee earlier this week, and there were no further comments on the recalling. Any comments on the first recalling? Okay, let's move down. Similarly, on recognising, no further comments have been received. All good. Acknowledging. Comments. Further recognising. No comments. And if we just scroll down a bit, please. Having considered, which we've just done, no comments. And then having further considered, no comments. So now we move on to adopts. There have been some significant changes here. These were made in the drafting committee, had extensive conversations about these. So Congress adopts the amendment to the TEP regs. It highlights the commitment that everybody is making here. The effective date is the 1st of January 2027. Let's remember what the UN Secretary General told us yesterday. This lines up directly to the UN early warning for all deadlines. And then we've removed text at the end that refers to Sendai. That again was endorsed, the removal of that by the drafting committee. And again, I'd like to personally thank my friends from Japan for their graciousness in accepting that change. I'd like to recognise that. And it was viewed by the drafting committee that that additional target date for implementation of 2030 was effectively redundant. So we're sticking with the one date. These become effective from the 1st of January 2027. Any comments, please? I see none. So let's move on to requests. And again, this is an additional line. If you remember when we went through the document first time, there were many comments about who's in charge of monitoring, who's responsible for reporting. So we've done a lot of work in these subsequent sections on clarifying the role of Executive Council, the role of the regional associations, and the role of the technical commissions as well. So the first request here is new. It was agreed by the drafting committee and is completely consistent with the responsibilities of Executive Council to provide oversight and guidance. Any comments on that request, the Executive Council? I see none. We then move on to the request, the President of CERCOM, and again, we've cleaned this up to make it unambiguous in terms of what the role of the Technical Commission is. So you will see there, some stuff has been removed for consistency consistency purposes. It's a much smaller, simpler sentence now. Any comments, please? I see none. And we have removed the two there on the visualization, because you'll see in a bit that we're putting that responsibility on another body. So we'll come back to that in a minute, okay? So it's removed for now, but it will reappear a bit later in this provision. No comments. So let's go to request the technical commissions. No comments on that. And just to explain what that means, the Infrastructure Commission and the Services Commission will be undertaking an intensive review of all our policy documents, all our guides, all our technical regulations over the next few weeks and months to identify possible inconsistencies that these new provisions may have unwittingly introduced to other policy documents. Okay? So it hasn't changed that request, but it is a very important request nonetheless. Any comments, please? Okay, we can move on to the next one. The drafting committee scored this one out because the good news is that there is already an impact-based forecasting implementation guide. So we don't need to develop another one because there is one, but we will be incorporating this guide within the guidance material that we will be developing, further developing to support these provisions. So, yeah, with the agreement of Turkey, this further request was deemed redundant and removed. Any comments? Okay, so we now get on to requests the presidents of the regional association. So I'm going to go through these one by one. So request 1, a couple of drafting committee changes here. The first was the importance of not just to support, but to promote. Sing it from the rooftops, everybody. We've got technical regulations for early warning services now. So please, my friends in the regions, make sure everybody knows. And the other changes to number 1 were just of an editorial nature. Any comments on 1? I see none. Request 2. There were no further changes to that what was discussed earlier this week. Drafting committee was happy with request 2. And finally, request 3. The only change here was to capitalise members. So all good on the Regional Association side of things. So let's now move on to requests the Secretary General. So number 1, Drafting Committee once again wants the Secretary General not just to publish, but to publicise as widely as possible the existence of these technical regulations with other stakeholders, UN organisations and what have you, and governments around the world. This is a big deal for us. Any comments? And then request 2, really important changes here, because again, this is where we've cleaned up on responsibilities for both monitoring and reporting. And this is where we've included that text on the visualisation of the monitoring results to demonstrate how members are getting on with complying with those technical regulations as well, and for the Secretary General to report on that regularly to Executive Council. So that's now nice and clean, all in one place, all following the rules that we do our business by in WMO. Any questions on request 2? I see none. And on 3, once again, just a minor editorial there to take out the word directly. And again, the drafting committee was comfortable with that. I see no further comments. So let's go down to urges members now. In 1, just an editorial once again. You can see it for yourself there. Any comments? Drafting committee was happy with this one. I see none. On 2, no comments. And then finally, and I'm completely aware that this is where things will get interesting, urges 3, and it's our old friends, the low and medium income countries, including LDCs and SIDS. This text is currently, and I will go to the chair in a moment, completely consistent with the text that was agreed and approved in yesterday's document, okay? But I will, expecting Egypt. So, Chair, the floor is back to you.
Thank you very much. And Egypt made a request to the floor, but we have an intervention as well by BCT in relation to the language. So I might hand over to BCT and then we can go to Egypt, if that's okay. With Egypt, I'm seeing nodding. So over to you, BCT.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. During our discussions of this document earlier in the week, it was recognized that the World Bank classifies some small island developing states as high income, but they do not, there are existing gaps in their ability to deliver on early warning services. And so we had requested earlier in the week that the sentence, as it said there, should have, the word including was supposed to have been removed because some SIDS are not listed by the World Bank as low and middle income countries. Thank you.
I'm seeing nodding here, Arlene, so I think that's accepted. Thank you very much. That is consistent with the discussions and the language we used earlier on. So who's next? Tanzania. Do we not go to Egypt first?
Egypt is not. I was requesting the floor, but no.
Okay, so
Can you push the? Can you push? Yes.
okay, because Egypt has been waiting and asked earlier on, and then we'll go to the other delegates. So over to you, Egypt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We noted that yesterday the term low and middle income countries was introduced to replace the term developing countries. We are cognizant that the document was adopted by this august body and its highly respected technical experts. However, we believe that this esteemed body should approach this matter with due caution for the following reasons. First, the term developing countries has been used constantly across the United Nations system for more than half a century. It is deeply embedded in UN language, World Bank practices, and numerous international treaties and conventions. Second, the term captures the multidimensional nature of development beyond GDP figures, reflecting development as a process rather than a status. Third, the continued use of agreed-upon terminologies based on well-established precedents ensures institutional continuity and helps preserve the principles of multilateralism and cooperative engagements. Fourth, replacing developing countries with low and middle income countries could create inconsistencies within the UN system, potentially undermining the coherence of the WMO's language with that of the broader UN family. In light of the above, our delegation would like to raise the following questions on which we seek clarification before endorsing this document from the Secretariat. First, what are the legal and technical implications of introducing this new term? Second, how does the organization intend to address any potential gaps that may arise from the use of this new term, ensuring that no member states is excluded from WMO's development and capacity building efforts? I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. This is a very important issue. Of course, as you mentioned in the outset, this is a scientific and technical environment. We don't have any competence in the area of political economics, and it's not our intention to make decisions that would influence the wider definition and clarity in relation to this fundamental, foundational pillar definition within the UN system. Right then, so we will address those, and as we discuss this item, I'll go to the other items. Thank you very much for your intervention. That's greatly appreciated. Tanzania.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I'll be just very brief. I would like to support what has been eloquently presented by Egypt Just on one note, because yesterday we had an historical day for World Meteorological Organization with the visit and the speech of the UN Secretary General, and he used the term developing countries that are very at stake in terms of the impact of climate change. So I was just, agree to remain quiet, but after yesterday, I thought if the UN Secretary General could use this terminology, why can't we use here? And so I think what is more clear is developing countries are very vulnerable, and they are, confronted with very big gaps and needs in terms of early warning services. So it will be very appropriate to reflect this as it is, not otherwise. But I leave it to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tanzania. And again, following my reflection earlier in the week, we're here to consider and make decisions in relation to scientific and technical issues. That's our area of competence. That's our mandate. So these discussions in relation to the definition of these fundamental terms, it's not our job, it's not our remit, it's not what we're here to discuss. So we have a series of interventions, as Stefano is highlighting here. So the next, Saudi Arabia. Floor is open to Saudi Arabia.
شكرا سعادة الرئيس. وفد المملكة العربية السعودية يدعم مداخلة جمهورية مصر العربية، ونعتقد أن نحن ضد حذف الدول النامية من في هذا النص، ونعتقد أنه مثل هذا التعبير هو تعبير موجود ولا في مجتمع المنظمة العالمية للأرصاد الجوية. لا نريد أن نخلق أو يكون هناك دول بعيدة أو خارجة عن الاهتمام الذي يجب أن توليه المنظمة لجميع أعضائها. فنحن ندعم النص الذي تقدمت به جمهورية مصر العربية. شكرا.
Thank you very much, Saudi Arabia. Next, Mexico.
Muchas gracias, señor vicepresidente, y quiero agradecer a la delegación, a la estimada delegación de Egipto por esta intervención tan elocuente que refleja el sentimiento de mi delegación y de muchas delegaciones en los días pasados. Tal como yo mencioné, si bien México accedió en un espíritu constructivo y para no oponerse a lo que parecía un consenso emergente, en aquel momento nos reservamos la prerrogativa de volver a abrir este debate. Con respecto a la naturaleza política o técnica del término, lamento mucho disentir de la opinión calificada del vicepresidente, porque estamos hablando aquí de desarrollo de capacidades, de acceso a recursos, de asistencia técnica, y nada es más técnico que eso. Por otro lado, nuestros países, aquí en el Congreso, estamos tomando decisiones que impactarán la vida de nuestras poblaciones, lo cual tiene una naturaleza también de carácter técnico y científico. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. Next, thank you very much, Mexico. And I suppose as the chair, I'm ensuring that the WMO carries out its scientific and technical mandate as outlined in the convention. Uganda.
Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. We want to support the provision made by our colleagues from Egypt, Tanzania, Mexico, and others to maintain the text as it was presented. And secondly, We are already aware that there's some support from members to the least developed countries and developing countries in the quest to establish and operationalize early warnings for all initiative by 2027. We have initiatives such as SOF, cruise support. Now, we want to introduce a component on that number 3, instead of just talking about to support low and least developed countries and developing countries. We want to introduce the component of increasing support, to increase the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uganda. Who's next? Iran, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Iran supports the clarification made by Egypt colleagues. Developing countries is well established in UN documents, and using developing countries is more conclusive and can prevent from ambiguity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iran. Honduras.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Buenos días a todos. Creo que no voy a quitarles mucho tiempo. Estamos de acuerdo como delegación en las palabras que ha tenido tanto Egipto como México y los países que se han sumado a las mismas. El término development countries preserva un enfoque más inclusivo y estable.
Thank you very much, Stefano. Germany, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I have to learn not to touch the button after I've pressed it once. I think, obviously some very important points being made here. On the one hand, we did come to agreement on text in another context yesterday. On the other hand, there's some extremely valid points being made. And also, Mr. Vice President, your comment on what should we actually be doing in the WMO. I'd like to go back to the very first comment from my colleague from the British Caribbean territories, who made it actually very clear why we should be looking at the needs related to early warnings and not a general definition that's used across a broad system with a roll of different mandates. So I think what we want to make clear is that we want to support all the members of WMO in their mission to provide early warning services. And we have different processes to prioritize how that support is given, because there are a wide range of needs. And there are, I think, I'm thinking of SOF and the GBOM, but I think in the early warning for all initiative, there are also processes to set priorities and just make decisions about in what order we devote the resources. So perhaps here we need a text that says that we will support the WMO members to build up their early warning services in the context of early warning for all, following priorities established as part of the early warning for all initiative. I don't know if that's a good way to go, but I think this is sort of hitting the essence of what we need to do in our organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Tunisia.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all delegations that have made statements before me. I won't be very long. I would just like to support the statement made by Egypt and other colleagues throughout this discussion. Developing country is an established concept used throughout the UN system and all technical agencies and specialized agencies of the UN system. So I don't think it is touching anything impacting the technical aspect of WMO MO by using the word developing countries. And I would just like to add also that developing countries is at the heart of the initiative. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tunisia. Next, Peru.
Muchas gracias, señor vicepresidente. No pudiésemos hacer más eco a las intervenciones efectuadas por nuestros colegas de Egipto y de México, y quisiéramos simplemente recalcar que el espíritu de esta línea es tratar de potenciar, apoyar a aquellos estados que requieren potenciar sus sistemas de alerta temprana y limitar el enfoque o el alcance de los estados que pudiesen beneficiarse de ese tipo de apoyo. Aquí, para el Perú, sería un grave error. En línea con lo que dijo nuestra colega de Alemania, está muy bien que en un mundo de recursos finitos se deba priorizar el apoyo, pero en este espacio en particular no es el momento para limitar a aquellos estados que pudiesen acceder a un apoyo. Entonces, lamentamos el no haber participado en el Drafting Committee para establecer un acuerdo y una forma para avanzar, pero tal y como figura acá, importar lenguaje que ha sido acordado en el Banco Mundial y no es coherente con el lenguaje que se utiliza transversalmente en el sistema de las Naciones Unidas, no sería aceptable para el Perú. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Peru. Mexico. Okay, that's next item, next individual, sorry.
Ghana.
Ghana. Ghana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So Ghana would also like to support the initial statement that was made by Egypt, Tanzania, and all the other countries that will maintain the developing countries, and then the developed countries and the developing countries. We also like to cite the example of the SOF. When the SOF was going on for observation network, classification of countries, for example, Ghana, we would also need this equipment to support our work. So we would like to support the other countries that we go back to what was mentioned. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. And Oman?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oman also support the whole raised discussion and support Egypt point. And I think also what is brought by Germany is very important to make it general point. And I suggest to put a focus to a focus somewhere to developed countries. So just make it as a general, then with the focus to developed countries. Thank you.
Right then. Thanks very much. Excuse me. Ethiopia and Czechia. And I will close the round of interventions because I think we've got a good sense of where we are. So Ethiopia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Ethiopia is also supporting the initiation, the issue raised by Egypt, Tanzania, Mexico, and others. Thank you very much.
Czechia.
Thank you, Chair. Just an observation. We spend a lot of time now on the section which urges members, and I don't really think that whatever we formulate here will impact the national decisions of the members to assist other members. We are not discussing about directing the resources of the organization, but we are urgent members. Just keep that in mind. Generally, I don't know if I capture well the intention of Germany, but that was something that came to my mind, because what we want to say is we urge you, dear country, dear member, to assist other members in developing their early warning services if they need such an assistance. So maybe just getting rid of all those political definitions of different groups of countries, we might consider to simply to support other members in further enhancing the delivery of the early warning services as needed. Thank you very much.
We might, Jan, you might call out that suggested rewording, please. This is urges 3. Might give Jan, check you at the floor again, please.
Yeah, thank you. To support other members and then delete the rest of this line and follow in further enhancing and delivery. Keep in further enhancing and delivery. Of their national early warning services. This is the last line, actually. As needed.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, the suggestion is to change urges 3 to support other members in further enhancing the delivery of their national early warning services as needed. Thank you very much. And this is to avoid all these definitions, which has been highlighted as a difficulty by a large number of delegates. Uruguay, one last intervention, please.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Buenos días, colegas. Simplemente para agradecer y reconocer los esfuerzos para intentar encontrar una fórmula de consenso en este párrafo. Estamos abiertos a buscar fórmulas de consenso. Dicho esto, con las opciones que hay sobre la mesa por el momento, nuestra preferencia sería por mantener el lenguaje originalmente previsto, en línea con los argumentos que han sido expresados por delegaciones como Egipto, México, Perú, Honduras, entre otros. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Right then, we have other items on the agenda that we need to address. Egypt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, our delegation is approaching this matter in a very constructive way. But again, here it's about the role and mandate of the WMO and what is actually meant by the early warning system initiative and how to address this matter. It's not about a political classification. It's about the core mandate of WMO and the multilateral system at large. The approach of this initiative, one of the main element of this is the developmental need of the countries. It is not about to provide assistance from a country to a country. Otherwise, it should not be encouraged because it will be up to the member states. What is meant when you just reflect in a certain document some kind of developmental aspect is just to highlight that this should be taken into consideration while countries is considering providing these technical assistance, and WMO at large is practicing this in the field. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Egypt, can we give you the floor again, please? No? So we can't hear you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we just received the proposal just to have the developmental needs. This is something that we need further time to consider.
Okay.
Again, here, and I'd like just again to put this on record, just for, because as you correctly mentioned, Mr. President, here we are not to set precedents. And what we would like just to caution this August House, that if we agreed about some term here, that when you come to discuss it again, you will find that some delegation will say that we agreed upon to develop, to strike out the developing countries. So this is not to constitute a precedent. Any kind of agreement to be reached today, it will be just to seek a compromise, but not to be a practice that undermine the UN system language at large. Okay, so we need just further time. If you could just please put this language on the screen and postpone this agenda item until we take our time. Thank you.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's what we're just about to do. Thank you very much for your advice for Egypt. So we're going to pause the discussion. I would like to just express my complete alignment with the last few words from Egypt. Our intention here has never been and should not be, in my opinion, to put in language that would prejudice or would in any way bind any other part of the UN in relation to these definitions, because it's not our role or purpose. And our discussions on this matter to date have always been carried out in that vein, and I'm sure I have made that clear on numerous occasions during the week. So I'm going to ask that we have a drafting team, which you're aware of. So I'm going to ask our capable chair to reactivate the drafting team again, and perhaps we could progress this matter. I will note that we have gone through the whole document. We have adopted the annex. Okay, so this is a really important issue. It's fundamental. It's a huge issue, but it's a small part of the document, and I'm not trying to diminish the important issue that Egypt has quite rightly raised. But this is what's holding us up, okay? And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. So I'm going to ask the drafting team to reconvene, and we'll allow other chairs to progress other items on the agenda as has been proposed by Egypt. Right then, so we might give a time and place. Just 1 second, please. Okay, so we need to work out where and when we're going to have our meeting, okay? The drafting committee will meet, and we're going to have a quick coffee break, and we'll come back in 15 minutes, and this will allow the rest of the agenda to progress. Now, before anybody stands up, I just want to clarify the sole focus of this drafting committee's discussion is urges 3, so we can address the important issues that have been raised by Egypt. That's the sole purpose, because the rest of the document has been worked through. I'm seeing nodding. Okay, thank you very much.
Dear members, distinguished delegates, welcome back from the coffee break. The Secretariat, in the interest of time, would like to make a proposal to adjust the tentative work plan. As you know, as agreed before, the session was going to consider other documents, 2.2 and 3.2. However, given the limitation of time, the Secretary General and the President would like to make an adjustment. As you know, this session extraordinary was convened to adopt technical regulations, amendment to technical regulations document, which is currently suspended, and a very other important document, which is 3.1, containing amendments to provisions on elections and appointments. So this document is very important because its adoption would enable you to apply those procedures in 2027 rather than discussing at that session. So given the limitation of time, the proposal is that now we move to that document and advance as much as possible, hoping that it could be adopted this session. Would you have any objection to this adjustment to the tentative work plan? We seem to see no objection, therefore we can proceed with this adjustment. Thank you very much for your understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Stefano. Good morning to all of you. So now we are back for the discussion on elections and appointments procedures, including WMO Code of Conduct. We have discussed so far regarding proxy voting, and today we'll take off the remaining parts, and also we'll go for finalizing the draft resolutions. So without taking much time, and now I request Mr. Daniel to take the floor and proceed with our actions.
So it appears that we are back by popular demand. So we're back to the resolutions in relation to the procedures for elections and appointments. Just a point of clarity at this moment, there was some confusion with regards to the changes that have been placed on the PowerPoint. And I think to ease confusion, what we've done is we've produced only those provisions which are subject to change. And we've ignored everything else. I think there seems to be some confusion in the room as to what was being changed. So we've only included those provisions which are being changed. Okay. So that I will move immediately to electronic voting, and then we'll go back to the other provisions which were subject to the drafting committee yesterday. And so the last issue almost the last issue is in relation to electronic voting. Now, essentially, when we've looked into this issue, we're faced with a number of different problems. The first problem is there is a general lack of trust as to electronic voting in principle. There is a general disagreement as to what constitutes electronic voting, except we have this term called electronic voting. And when we've looked at the UN family as a whole, there does not appear to be much consistent approach. Certainly, there isn't very much practice of internet voting. And that's something which we would obviously have to rely upon, particularly with our regional associations and our technical commissions. And so for that reason, this recommendation before you is to approach it in a slightly nuanced way. The starting point is to say that for the purposes of elections and appointments only, no electronic voting of any kind is permitted. Now, in relation to and that's particularly in relation to Congress and the elections of your presidents, the vice presidents, and EC members. Now, as that is a general rule, there is, as always in law, exceptions. And the exception will be for you to determine in relation to all other matters outside of Congress. So for the technical commissions, for example, the regional associations, if the president of that particular regional association decides, look, the location, we're not getting the numbers in, we need to have a vote. How can we do it? I may want to consider electronic voting, they need to have that consultation with members. And then the members themselves, you as the members, would have to agree by 2/3 to permit some form of electronic voting for you to decide. So the emphasis is always about empowering you to have the options within the context of a framework where electronic voting is something which has some issues, particularly within the UN family. So that's the framework within which we operate. In general, we don't want to have electronic voting, but we accept there are times when we do. When we do, you decide. That's it. So let's go to the text, please. So if we go down to the provisions, essentially what we're saying is voting for elected and appointed positions shall be by electronic or paper means, but voting for, voting an elected appointed position shall be in person by paper ballot. And in D, there's your provision. If there is a requirement to have electronic voting for technical commissions or other bodies, then the provision allows you to have the consultation and the 2/3 majority requirement. So again, voting for elected and appointed positions shall be in person by paper ballot. But in circumstances that prevent that, another COVID pandemic, whatever it will be, in circumstances that prevent that, in consultation with the members and with the approval of those members, electronic voting can take place. But it's for the technical and the regional association bodies in particular. I'll stop there and open the floor.
Yeah, floor is open now for comments and suggestions. Tanzania, please.
Thank you very much. So this is a very sensitive issue, and we are about to approve the Youth Action Plan. The Congress will definitely adopt or approve the Youth Action Plan. And the world is going digital. And we are going backward in terms of going paperwork. And the main reason that is being cited is lack of trust. My question is, have we done a survey and to come up with that conclusion that there is a lack of trust with regard to the use of electronic voting? So we'll appreciate to get what is the major reason? Why are we abolishing electronic voting? There might be some very good reason, but it will be very useful if all of us we understand, because in our respective NMHS, we are pushing for digitalization of our services. So maybe there could be some good lesson learned if we understand why at this Congress, extraordinary Congress, we are going to abolish electronic voting. This will be an historical, decision that we're making, considering that the entire world is going digital. Lack of trust, of course, even most of the issues that we are using, the tools are associated with uncertainties and risk. So I submit that we provide more clarification on what are those reasons. And if we had quantified, if we did survey, and what percentage did we found out that members do not trust electronic voting? Otherwise, to me, I would think we should put it as an option. And that should be the way to go. Thank you very much.
So thank you. May I now request Russian Federation, please?
Thank you. For the purpose of clarity, I will speak on these matters in English. So thank you for presenting these proposals. However, we are not quite convinced as to the purpose and procedures, and indeed there's a general lack of trust. And I think our purpose here should be to ensure as much transparency and clarity of procedures as we can. In this regard, I would really question the bullet D. There are two different issues. Voting on substantive issues, should this be required? And voting when it comes to elections. And for the purposes of elections, we believe that common procedures of being present in person should be respected with regard to all elections everywhere. It has nothing to do with online participation as such. It's a completely separate issue. If a delegation wants to cast any type of vote, it should be present in person at the relevant meeting of the constituted body. Therefore, we would present changes in this regard for the voting procedures in general when we come to them. And at this point, for the language that is currently on the screen, we would be against permitting any kind of elections that are not in person. So thus we disagree with the current bullet D as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Mozambique, please?
Thank you very much. Well, we were in Paris and we agreed that we need to do everything for mitigation and adaptation. And in the field of mitigation, find that we need to save the trees. And the paper we will use it for voting is what we have agreed to don't use it during Paris Agreement. So I would like to echo the voice from Tanzania that we should really show in fact that we are following what we have agreed. Nowadays, we are talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the digital transformation. But here we are saying now, for us, we are not going to use this digital transformation. So this is echo to bring this electronic inside the WMO. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I request Monaco, please?
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Les réunions, et nous avons vu avec le Covid, ce qui s'est passé et bien entendu ce qui a été souligné par la Tanzanie avec le développement des nouvelles technologies. Nous pensons que petit à petit, les organisations internationales doivent mettre en place des dispositions pour justement pouvoir utiliser le vote électronique sur des questions d'importance, peut-être dans le cadre de certaines élections. On voit dans d'autres instances ici à Genève où, par exemple, sur des résolutions désormais au Palais des Nations, il y a un système de vote électronique qui est mis en place systématiquement et qui ne fait plus question. Donc nous pensons que la proposition de compromis qui est proposée permet de conserver un équilibre et de sauvegarder ce qui est demandé par beaucoup de délégations, à savoir les élections du secrétaire général, du président, des vice-présidents et des membres du conseil exécutif sous forme de bulletins papier, mais que pour le reste, on puisse envisager le vote électronique nous semble être un très bon compromis et nous permettre aussi de suivre le fil du temps et des progrès. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. May I request Roshan Pedersen, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pose a question. Hearing different reflections, it seems that there is unclarity in the language itself. Then perhaps this could be clarified. Does electronic voting equal remote voting? Or does electronic voting only imply voting in person on the spot by pressing buttons on some kind of a machine? I think that's an important question, really. Thank you.
May I request Denmark, please?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. I just want very briefly to express my support to the compromise which is presented to us. And I think both Tanzania and Monaco managed to explain very well why we have to take the step we do here. We are in the middle of, in many respects, to modernize WMO. And I think our Secretary General, is in the very forefront of many good steps we are going to take. I think what is proposed here is some kind of practical solution to make sure that we are able to take the decisions needed to have an organization moving forward all the time. Obviously, I do sort of also find that it's nice when we are all of us together and we can discuss and vote together. Of course, that is preferable, but in a practical world, in a modern world, it is not doable, and we will not be able to take the needed decisions with the rapid speed which is needed for us in future. So I just want to express support to the translations already been given and the text in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Australia, please?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just wanted to express support for the amendments as presented by the task force. I think in light of some interventions already this morning, they do achieve an appropriate compromise and still provide scope for us to consider alternative modalities in the future, but we strongly support the drafting as it's currently worded. And in reference to the Russian Federation's intervention about what is electronic voting, that is an extremely important point, and it's something that the task force talked about quite a bit, in that electronic voting is not a term that is clearly understood and defined. And hence the task force has included a request in the accompanying draft resolution to this change that asks the Secretary General to develop some rules of procedure
around modalities for electronic voting. And as part of that, that would be actually defining what is electronic, what are the different modalities, to really understand, what are we talking about when we say electronic voting, because it's currently not clear. And that's an important complementary piece to this annex. I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request US, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We'd like to join others, Denmark and Australia, in expressing support for the draft as written. We also agree with Australia and recognize the importance in the resolution of a definition for electronic voting, and perhaps just in response to the sort of original question from Tanzania. It's the perspective of the US government that any voting system must meet several principles: transparency of the process, confidentiality of the ballot, accountability of the outcome, and integrity of the overall vote. And remote electronic voting systems would require rigorous consultation, testing, and evaluation to meet these standards. And as such, we do not believe such systems offer a credible alternative to in-person paper ballots for secret ballots at this time. Thank you.
Yes, please. May I request Belgium, please?
Oui. Oui, bonjour. Je tiens à féliciter le comité pour la rédaction de ce texte. Comme d'autres délégations, Monaco, Tanzanie, Danemark, entre autres, j'appuie la proposition de compromis qui est mise à l'écran. Et je pense qu'il faut aussi clarifier la notion de vote électronique. C'est très essentiel dans ce genre de texte. En outre, je voudrais ajouter un commentaire, c'est que pour une organisation comme l'OMM qui a une vocation environnementale, nous devons faire tout pour réduire notre empreinte carbone. C'est fait partie de notre core business aussi. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Thank you. May I now request Sweden, please? Sweden, please.
But maybe you can hear me. I will make it, now, I will make it very clear and short. We just echoed the previous Belgium and Denmark and Monaco and other countries. We support the compromise of drafting like it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or suggestions? Otherwise, I request Mr. Daniel to respond, please.
So in relation to the electronic voting, and I appreciate the comments that have been made in the room. I mean, look at it this way. For decisions other than voting for elected positions, so all other decisions, you have a show of hands. And so generally, you would not be using electronic voting. So if you're online and participating on an online session and you're making decisions and there is a need to make a decision other than through consensus, which of course is not the preferred approach within WMO as a family, but if you were forced to that, then you have your show of hands. So what we're really only talking about are elections and appointments. That's all we're really focusing on. And what we're really only focusing on is what happens in Congress, here at HQ. Because because right now we don't have the facilities for other forms of electronic voting in the technical commissions. Again, they take place outside of HQ. So there's nothing currently that we have available for the commissions and in the regions. So we're looking only at what takes place in Congress. That's really what we're focusing on. The suggestion which was made by, I think, Japan, is for us, for the Secretariat through Executive Council, to look into available measures or available options, like, for example, in WHO, I was just reading now, where they're asking us to look into possible measures which alleviate your concerns. And so it may well be until such a time where those provisions, where something is in place which meets your needs, this provision is what I consider, what I think the task force was intended to achieve, was until something else is in place, this is how we want to manage it. Because remember, it is only for Congress. Because for the technical commissions and the regional associations, you can decide to have something else if you want to. So it's within your gift. So the suggestion, or the humble suggestion, is if taking into account the issue of electronic voting, let it go back to Executive Council in terms of reviewing possible modalities going forward. But until such time, the provisions as they currently stand, as recommended by the task force, is a stopgap until we find a solution for Congress and those elections and appointments for Congress, because all other decisions is a show of hands. So that's the suggestion that I can advise you to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Further comments and suggestions are invited. May I request Germany, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. I would very strongly support the proposal just made by the Secretariat, because I think we need to get clarity on what we're doing in 2 years' time here. At the same time, instigate a process to continue to review what we use. And in 2 years' time, we can make further decisions on this. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request UK, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. And Germany have, to some extent, made the point I was going to make. The position we have on the screen already represents a compromise between, I think, views that are differing across the membership here. In the UK, we strongly support this as the best compromise that is achievable. And we are very much aware that the alternative is to proceed with the procedures we all found highly unsatisfactory at the last Congress. So we really do need to move forward. And I encourage a degree of pragmatism that this may be as far as we can go and leaves us the opportunity to progress further, but leaves us in a position where we will be in a better position to vote at the next Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Zakia, please?
Thank you very much. I would like to point the attention to the fact that this provision, as I understood, reflects mostly what happened at CIRCOM at Bali 2 years ago, because that we held a very long discussion about the possibility of electronic and proxy votes over there. You can recall that. So in general, we support to finding a solution, including the provision is here. What probably might be the problem in understanding is what circumstances, and that was always in the detail, how circumstances that prevent in-person people will qualify. And I understood that is something that we will ask a Secretary General to propose modalities and rules of procedure for identifying such circumstances and also the procedure that would then be acceptable by the members. So with that, we can support it. But I would say that if such rules of procedure and modalities is developed, it would be worth of consideration by Congress, not EC only, from our perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Russian Federation, please?
Thank you very much, and our appreciation to everyone who's spoken this. Actually, we share lots what's been expressed by Germany, by the UK, and by Czechia. If we look at the proposed changes to the Regulation 40, actually, when it comes to B and C, we find them very pertinent, and we very much agree to these changes. We are concerned with D, however, that starts with the phrase "in circumstances that prevent in-person voting." And the issue is, it's really not only the COVID pandemic that can be an example of such circumstances. And since we are not defining it here, I think it brings obscurity to the process, whereby anything could be put forward as a circumstance, and that would be particularly important in the context of technical commissions. So that's the last clause about the Secretary General, the Executive Council, the President, Vice Presidents does not take care of this. So that's why we are questioning it, really. So our proposal would be to agree with the changes to B and C, however, to leave open the issue of D and get rid of the D at this point, especially since we are requesting the SG to reflect on this anyway. Thank you.
May I now request Mr. Daniel to respond, please?
So in relation to the circumstance issue, essentially what we had this exact discussion in the task force. And the problem is we don't want to have a situation when the task force was concerned that they didn't want to have a situation in which these smaller bodies who are meeting outside of Geneva are not able to vote for whatever reason. So these unknown circumstances. So that was the reason why we needed to keep it in for those smaller bodies. Because remember, it only applies to the technical commissions and the regional associations. It does not apply to Congress. In relation to the circumstances, as a lawyer, I don't want to be overtly prescriptive as to what circumstances would be circumstances, because that could be endless. So the intention here is the circumstances are the ones that you decide warrant election by electronic means. So it doesn't require prescription from the rules. It requires the consultation and the decision by the members themselves. So again, this is about empowering members rather than restricting it through rule changes. So that was the intent. I hope I've explained that. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Any comments further? May I request Australia, please?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just wanted to provide an example, perhaps, for delegates to elaborate on why we support D being retained. So Australia is part of Region 5. We recently had our Region 5 session where we needed to elect a president and vice president for our region. If we were to remove D, my interpretation would be we wouldn't be able to elect a president and a vice president in our region because we were meeting virtually. We weren't meeting in person. And so in some circumstances, the regional associations meet virtually. And at that occasion, we had elections. If we were unable to have some other modality other than in-person voting, then we would be prevented from appointing presidents and vice presidents in those circumstances, is how I interpret it. So we very much support D being retained because it allows for consideration of those circumstances and that the regional association could agree on an alternative modality for that election in that particular circumstance to take place if we are not meeting in person. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Paraguay, please?
Muchas gracias, señor vicepresidente, a todos los compañeros. Quiero secundar la moción de Australia también dentro de la Asociación Regional 3. No siempre tenemos la posibilidad de estar en persona, entonces quiero secundar esa moción de Australia. Gracias.
Thank you. Yeah, now the floor is for New Zealand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just want to add to the previous comment and support Australia's intervention 2 minutes ago. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request British Columbia, please?
Good morning, Chair. Thank you for giving me the floor. I will concur with Australia in terms of having flexibility because we do not always have, as in our region, the capability to be in person for all of our members at a given time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. May I request Curaçao, please?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I also know the difficulties that sometimes some members have to assist a meeting. So I concurred also with the previous speakers that that is also a way of moving forward when there is a time that you're not available to be there in person, to also to make your vote available for other during a session, please. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. May I now request Ghana, please?
Thank you very much. Can I also like to support all the other submission made by the other countries that it's not all the time you may be able to have the opportunity to be in person. So the vote can also be given up for participation in representation of the country. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Barbados, please?
Thank you, Chair. Very simple. Barbados supports the position of the BCT. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Brunei Darussalam, please?
Okay. Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Brunei Darussalam would like to second suggestion from the or the comment from Australia. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So may I now request Romania, please?
Okay, now, thank you, Chair. Romania support also electronic vote as alternative when person cannot be present in order to have process complete for voting process. Thank you.
Please push the button.
Thank you, Chair. I think the issue here, let me start by saying I support the comments that have been made regarding the electronic voting. And I think the issue is regarding the what the circumstances and the ambiguity that could come with that. But I also understand that I think about 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, we also alluded to the fact that this is not final. This is also work in progress, that we still have the opportunity, probably in the next, in 2 years' time during Congress, to still look at this. So refinement is still ongoing. So we support this text as it is, and then we can move on. Thank you.
Nigeria is spoken.
It's over, no? Yeah. So thank you, friend from Nigeria. Any other comments or suggestions? I think there is no further hands raised. May I now request Mr. Daniel, please?
Yeah, so if you just scroll up just slightly to the preamble to this, because there's no suggested at the moment, exception of Russia, there's no specific changes to this. At the stop there. And at the bottom, you can see the request of Secretary General to develop rules of procedure for modality of electronic voting, which ensures secure secret ballot to be used in circumstances to prevent in-person paper voting. So that's essentially, this is a rule change, and the suggestion is, or the humble suggestion is to have it as a stopgap provision until you decide something else. And you can task the Secretary General to look into that something else. So on that basis, it might be worth. We've almost come to the end of the changes. There are some very minor ones which I'm going to suggest we leave just to the end. These are grammatical changes which need not concern us at this moment in time. My recommendation, Mr. Chair, is if we go to the drafting committee to discuss the issues that were discussed during the drafting session again for your consideration.
Yeah, I think all the comments, suggestions, whatever has been received during this session can be referred to the drafting committee. And
Go to Raw and his drafting committee.
Yeah, that is during lunchtime.
No, there's no drafting committee.
Okay.
So just go to Raw. Let Raw speak.
Okay. So it will go to further. What will you do with this one now?
So now go to Raw and let Raw speak about what we did yesterday.
Okay. So like yesterday, you have to go for now. Okay. So as Mr. Daniel suggests, you can go to Raw and we can discuss just like yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So the drafting committee met at 5 o'clock or 5:15 yesterday afternoon. We discussed the two outstanding items from the discussions we had here in the plenary during the session on elections. Those two are in Annex 1 to the first resolution, so Article 150, which I don't know if you can get to that one, Article 150A. Is it possible to display it? It's on the very top of the document. Bit further down. Yeah, there we get to Regulation 150, sorry, not article. Regulation 150, a bit further down, please. Yeah, we can start there. So you will recall that we discussed at length the qualification requirements for the Secretary General. The drafting committee last afternoon was of the opinion that explicit qualification requirements could lead to a lengthy discussion in Congress of whether a candidate is qualified or not, and that could be very unfortunate, as was also illustrated by some of the speakers yesterday. Furthermore, there is not agreement on any of the proposed changes, nor the text originally proposed in this document. Thus, the proposal of the drafting committee is to revert to what we have today, which is no explicit requirements for qualification of the SG. It's up to the Congress to decide. Therefore, the proposal of the drafting committee is to delete para A in Article 150. If we now go a bit further down, it was proposed by Monaco in the plenary yesterday to delete also Article C, and the drafting committee agreed with that proposal. So as a result, the drafting committee proposed that Article 150 will consist of what is now the new A, and a B, which is in Annex 2 to this resolution, and the Annex 2 was not disputed during our discussions yesterday. So that's the first proposal of the drafting committee. Then, if we can go down to draft resolution 3.1/4, Annex 2, which is on proxy voting. Yes, there we are. Thank you. On this one, there is the proposal on codifying the proxy voting in Article B. The use of proxy voting is the practice here in WMO bodies, and the purpose of the proposed 64B is to codify the procedures of proxy voting so that we all know what the rules are and avoid discussion in the bodies. The majorities of the drafting committee supported this. However, there was not full agreement in the drafting committee on the codification of proxy voting or on the use of proxy voting at all. Thus, if we cannot have agreement on the proposed B, the alternative will be to delete B and to keep the practice for proxy voting that we have today without any codification. So that were the two items discussed by the drafting committee yesterday. On all the other items that we discussed in plenary, the drafting committee found that there was agreement in this room. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you very much.
The Russian Federation.
Yeah. May I request a Russian Federation, please?
Thank you, Chair. Indeed, yesterday we had a good discussion, and I would even call it a fact-finding mission on this matter. The common practice at the UN is to be present when you vote. And that's one of the reasons why in all the foundational documents you have the issues of quorum to ensure that the sufficient number of delegations designated are represented. For that purpose, we have one country, one vote rule. And in fact, all the other provisions to ensure transparency of the process. When it comes to proxy voting, especially in the procedures at the WMO, or which are quite complex themselves, it leaves the situation very, very dubious, and transparency cannot be properly ensured. Therefore, we disagree with this practice, and the fact that it has taken place before can be questioned on what legal grounds it was actually happening. So to make things clear, we would strike out B and in the remaining Regulation 64, we would like to propose changes to the language. So the Regulation 64 would read, in all elections, voting shall be by secret ballot. So that's the language that's already there. And then we would add, in person and only by members present. Full stop. And I would like this to be reflected on the screen so that all the delegations could take a look at this. If the Secretariat could do this, I'd appreciate it. I will repeat it. So in all elections, voting shall be by secret ballot, we would add in person. That would come indeed after the word ballot, in person. And only by members present. Full stop. And then another sentence. Any type of remote or proxy voting shall not be allowed. Full stop. And then the next sentence would be retained. It quotes the important regulations 40, 45, and 46 that are already there, and that indeed speak on the issue of voting. And then we would obviously delete B, so that we would have this procedure settled once and for all with regard to proxy voting. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Tanzania, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So yesterday we provided a series of explanation as to why it is very important for the position of the Secretary General to have the competence in meteorology, hydrology, or we had some compromise of adding or other related field. So we thought that we are converging on that, and we are not in a position to accept the deletion of that requirement. We would hope that we go back to the original formulation where we say meteorology, hydrology, or related field, and leave it to the Congress to decide later on, but not leave it to the Congress to decide on nothing. So that is our position. Thank you.
May I now thank you. May I now request BCT, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is speaking to the matter of proxy voting. We do not agree with removal of that opportunity. We have had over the years neighboring states who have not been able to be present and have needed to make use of proxy voting, which has proceeded with the practice that WMO has established for all these decades now. Thank you very much.
Norway again. Norway.
May I now request Norway, please?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Can I just remind all the delegates that we have approximately 3 hours of working time left in this Congress. If we are not able to agree on this provisions for elections and appointments, we will revert to what we had before. Then the task force will have worked for 2.5 years, doing a great deal of work, which I know that you agree to, except with a few exceptions, and everything will be lost, and we'll be back to where we were in 2023. Can you please all keep that in mind? Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I now request Zekia, please?
Thank you, Chair. And apologies to jumping back to the comment of Tanzania on the qualification. Just seeking clarification for myself. The proposed change to delete Regulation 150A possibly has consequences to other provisions that were suggested by the drafting team as a complex solution to the elections and appointment. In particular, I would argue that Regulation 63.b, which is newly proposed, concerning consideration of qualification would become useless at that time, and that might also and researching the eligibility of the candidates, and that also might then let's say undermine the idea of preventing on-floor proposals for the candidates, which, if I'm not mistaken, in the history was once used for election of the Secretary General. Thank you very much. Just that those changes has implication to the other parts of the text, and it's pretty complicated to solve them all.
Thank you. May I now request Ghana, please?
Thank you very much. So, and I would like to speak back to the resolution 64B, and would like to support the proxy voting and maintain what was originally there without removing it. Thank you.
May I request, thank you very much. May I request Belarus, please?
Спасибо, господин председатель. Мы выступаем против включения процедуры голосования по доверенности. Предлагаем исключить подпункт Б и в то же время поддерживаем предложение Российской Федерации по дополнению подпункта А. Спасибо.
Thank you. May I now request Japan, please?
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to clarify what, to the Russian delegations, what the remote voting exactly mean. So would that include correspondence or not? Just for the clarification, thank you.
In front. In front. Okay. May I request Curaçao, please?
Thank you, Chair. Curaçao supports the position of BCT. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May I request Uganda, please?
Thank you, Chair. Uganda proposed clearly yesterday, and we still stand by that the qualification of the SG be restricted to meteorology and hydrology. because SG represents all of us in a number of fora, and it should be able to articulate issues regarding the mandate of this great body, scientific body, WMO. We also support voting through proxy as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Australia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I would just like to support the position outlined by BCT and retaining this language for permitting proxy voting as drafted by the task force, and point out that the proposed additions to A, which we don't support, would also cause confusion and complexities with what we'd just previously discussed in Regulation 40. So it would is not so. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Kenya, please?
Thank you, Chair. In the current form that has been proposed on Regulation 64, Kenya is against the change that is proposed there, simply because we know very well that a number of countries are not able to attend in person due to various reasons. Basically, like in Africa, you know, maybe a few may not be able to attend in person. As you know, we are in a situation where resources are scarce, and as such, in-person attendance may not be 100%. And as such, we propose that proxy voting should be retained. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, may I request Russian Federation, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just to elaborate on a couple of issues that were raised by Japan and others. With regard to correspondence, this procedure is already spelled out in the regulations. I mean, we're not deleting those provisions. With regard to why we added remote and proxy voting in particular is exactly the reason that there has been this confusion. What means what? And for the purposes of elections, which are different from voting in general, that can be on various issues, we would like to specify that people need to be present in person unequivocally. That's why we added this. So we do not believe that this is a contradiction here. Then also, if we look at the provisions of the Convention of the WMO, there are procedures that are specified there and that imply the delegations need to be present in person to constitute a quorum of a meeting. And that is particularly vital for the electoral processes. At the UN, I mean, normally you have to come to be able to cast your vote. That's in the UN General Assembly, the main organs, and elsewhere. So that's the basis, actually. And since this confusion is arising at the WMO, we believe that that should be sorted.
So thank you. I think we have quite a good number of interventions, comments, suggestions. Now I will request Mr. Daniel to respond, please.
Okay, so in relation to trying to keep the eye on the prize here, it's working. So if you were to look, I get the sense that the vast majority of the changes, there doesn't seem to be any objections. The codes of conduct, the enhanced dialogue. So these are all new provisions. The 3 months requirement, the special leave. These are all provisions which don't seem to foster any particular concerns. So if we just briefly go to Regulation 63, please, which is, if we go to the Annex 1, which is the issue of concern, I'm going to make just one suggestion which might be of interest. So remember, all these are new provisions. So if you don't agree to the new provisions, they don't exist. So in relation to A, candidates from the floor cannot be considered. If there's no objections to that, then we can approve that as a standalone provision. In relation to B, and the changes have taken place, with respect to the nominations committee, I doubt there'll be any concerns if they're announcing whether the internal candidates have a violation of a code of conduct. So that could be approved as a standalone provision within these concerns. In relation to A of 150, if you scroll down, please. No, it's just immediately below. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm very conscious of the time. Keep going. There, stop. It seems to me, from my observation, is that there doesn't seem to be much consensus in relation to that. Meaning that unless you can find consensus or an alternative modality, we will have to revert to what's already in existence. B, the second one, candidates applying for the position of Secretary General shall announce in writing. Again, there doesn't seem to be any, from what I can see, any objections in relation to that. So that could be introduced. If you keep going. And C, obviously, if there's no objections, obviously that won't be introduced because it's a new provision. So what I'm saying right now is in relation to that first part, Annex 1, you can already approve the issue of candidates not being coming from the floor. You can already approve the issue of the 3 months requirement to apply for Secretary General. And you can already approve the issue of the nominations committee making sure that nobody's got any allegations of misconduct against them. So those can already be approved. And the other issues, we can look again at another time. So we don't lose sight of it, because the other provisions that you have before you, there don't seem to be any objections. The only one which is of concern right now, which I can see, is the issue of proxy voting, for you to decide what you want to do. If you want to revert to what's currently existent, it exists. So it's there, but we don't codify it. But I don't want to lose sight, particularly the time and everything else, of the other issues that you have before you. So my humble recommendation for you is to go through just this particular Annex 1. What you're happy with, let's start approving those provisions, because there doesn't seem to be that sort of objection. I leave the floor open to you, particularly it's lunchtime, I know.
So thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. I thank all the distinguished delegates. I'll request Stefano now for further course of actions.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like just to give a couple of announcements. I will first inform members about the drafting groups. So please kindly put up the slide that illustrates the rooms and time. So there are 3 groups that will be meeting. So the first one is a drafting committee on the technical regulations. It will be meet in Jura 5. Jura 5 means on the 5th floor of the building on the Jura side, mountain side. The drafting committee on this particular item, the 3.1, has available the VIP room on the 1st floor. And then there will be also continuation of work on document 4 from yesterday. And this SAL C2 in the basement is available. You also have the links that will be distributed through the chat for people who can connect from outside. And now I believe we turn to Anthony for announcement, conference officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just one announcement. There will be a reminder of the Finnish side event being held here in Obasi as soon as this meeting is finished. Finland Meteorology Project, Ukraine-Finland Meteorology Project, followed by a reception. Just to clarify, it's open to all delegates, regardless of whether they have one of these giant passes or not. So you can have your colleagues come and attend. Thank you. Bon appétit.